Hi, everybody. Namaste. Welcome to my channel. My name is Sadhana. I am an intuitive reader and healer and really enjoy working with the tarot. And I decided on Wednesday evenings before I go live in the Facebook group, I'm going to review, go through some new decks, some old decks. And so this will be a regular time for me to be reflecting on decks that are have been in my collection for a while or are new. And this one is new. I started this First Impressions last Wednesday. So if you want to see part one, please go back. I can link that later. I should have put it in the description box below. And we went through the majors and I went through the Suit of Cups. And I want to give this deck, which is the Forager's Daughter, you can see from the title, it's due energy. I'm a little perplexed, to tell you the honest truth, about why I purchased it. I have given away, sold many animal decks, and really the only animal deck that I am and continue to work with is the Wild Unknown Tarot. There is a lot of wildlife in other decks that I use. One of my favorite decks, it's always on my side table, is the Wildwood Tarot. I am working, if you consider the Journey of the Sacred Bee, this is a deck that I'm very intrigued with and working with. However, there is just something about this deck. While it is extremely beautiful, I feel it's just not for me. And I was so intrigued with the artwork. The box, oh my goodness. I mean, if you are a collector and you love pretty boxes, it's the box is worth its weight in gold. The guidebook is beautiful. So there's so many lovely things about it. But I have just come to a point in my life where there's certain things that I want in a deck, and I'm feeling that this one is not quite offering it. But I want to go through, today we're going to go through Ace through King in each of the suits. We're going to look at them side by side because I think that's a really potent way to get to know the cards, to see the patterns within each of the numbers. So starting with this particular card, the Ace, you'll notice that we have a new moon. And so I also want to say blessings for the new moon in Leo. And I will be doing a reading and talking about that at the top of the next hour in my Facebook group. The Facebook group is linked in the description box below if you're not a part of that chat. Okay, so blessings for the Leo new moon, and welcome to Tamian and Sharon and Patricia. Namaste. So I quite like that the energy of the moon cycle is built into this deck. It is a component that I've been trying to build into a project of my own, and I know that it's challenging. In this deck, we see half of the moon cycles. So we see the complete waxing cycle from new moon to the full moon. There are no waning moons in this deck. So this is a deck, let's say this is a deck of building energy. And perhaps, sometimes we're looking for themes for decks. And perhaps that is what we could do also is a deck interview spread after. I was going to do one of the ones that was included in the book because I haven't done a deck interview yet. I'll see what I'm feeling. Okay, so these are the aces. They are connected to the energy of the new moon. And new moons symbolize a time of reflection when we are intending, when we are beginning, when we are opening to new possibilities. Traditionally, the element is, there's a divine energy that is connected with each of the elements. And I believe wholeheartedly that there is a path to transformation through each of the elements. There is also a path to enlightenment through each of the elements. And I love to see the full journey depicted through the suit. It's one of the things I love in a deck. I find the borders intriguing. I quite like the borders on the deck. They are not intrusive. They're very creative. I think this is a very talented artist. The cards are arranged on the table in the order that they are presented in the book, in multiple places. So the deck creator speaks first of cups and then pentacles, and then swords and then wands. This in itself is a bit of a mystery. There is no explanation to why the cards are presented in this way. And so intuitively, I have seen several decks that begin with the suit of cups. The suit of cups takes us into emotions. And Jessica Lei Howard, who is the creator of this deck, also talks about this ace in particular being connected to creation itself. The Ace of Cups is the Holy Grail, and you can ask yourself, what that is. The other thing to observe also is that there is a background pattern in each of the cards. And what I said last week would be really cool is if that, so you can see the suit of swords has the upward facing triangle, and the suit of wands has more of a, so the suit of wands being the suit of fire, it doesn't match the elemental symbols. I think that would have been cool if it did. It's close. So this is fire and air. And you can look at the colors. Yellow is traditionally associated with the symbol of air. Green is traditionally associated with the suit of pentacles when we go back through Tarot de Marseille and things like that. And blue is traditionally associated with the suit of cups. Yeah. So these are daylilies and turtles. And the turtles are really interesting energy to work with as they move from the water to the land. This has kind of a scorpionic energy. Interesting. What is our Scorpio card in? There is no mention of astrological associations in this deck. I didn't mention that last time. The transformation through death. You see the moth above. Or is this the cicada? I can't remember. I have to go back to the book. That's really interesting, but I don't have the book on the table. Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay, so I'm going to flip the cards and actually, no, let's have a closer look at how the elements are presented. So I mentioned the order that they're presented. The sword is facing down, and I know that is something that often spurs conversation. Do you like your Ace of Swords facing up? Do you care if your Ace of Swords is up or down? I'm just looking at the death card to see what it is a cicada, that's right. Okay, and we talked a little bit about my connection with cicada in Japan and how noisy they are. It's very fond memories. Okay, so transformation through water. And she does talk about the energy of what is beginning and what is the potential of each of the suits. One of my observations in reading the guidebook is that this is a deck, if you were to read it from the guidebook, I find the descriptions in the guidebook quite limiting. Jessica has gone into detail for each card. So if you're not familiar with the plant, if you're not familiar with the animal, the behavior, the habitat, the medicine of the animal or the plant, it is detailed for the most part, briefly. And so you get that information. However, the interpretation, so the oracular message, is very basic. And so if you like this artwork, I would highly recommend reading the deck intuitively and allowing the animals and the plants to speak to you. So, yeah. I'm also just glanced at here at the notion of the wreath. So I'm going to pay attention to the wreaths as they appear because they have an energy unto themselves. Another really interesting addition here is this looks like a spider web. The intention here is that this is the North Star. So the North Star is on the Ace of Wands, and the wand is facing up. Okay, so the wand is facing upward, the sword is facing downward. And that may, like I said, spur some energy in you. The Ace of Cups is overflowing. I quite like that. And in the Ace of Pentacles, this is always an interesting suit. And this comes to me from Lily White Tarot. I'm really curious to look at what we have going on here. So one of the things that I love to see in a suit is the fullness, the blossoming, the expansion, the growth of the suit from the Ace to the 10. And we have a different plant. Okay, so there's not continuity there. So I want to keep an eye on that also as we go through. And this might seem very petty to you, but what I have come to love in tarot decks are the connections. Hi, Helen. And I tend to build my tarot readings through the patterns and the connections. And when they're not there, and there is a sense of disjointedness in the deck, I find it a little more challenging to read. Okay, so let's go on to the twos. I have loosely read the guidebook, just checking in, like I said, with her descriptions and interpretations for the cards. And there is mention of balance in the twos. Another observation was that the first two suits that she's dealing with are the feminine suits, the receptive suits, and then the active suits, the masculine suits. So I'm wondering if this is the order in which they were painted. We have no information about that. And I quickly looked at her Instagram page, but I didn't have time to solve this mystery. There's a few things that I quite like here. I like that the masculine and feminine energy of the mallard ducks is represented on the Two of Cups. You know, that we're different, but we're a team kind of energy. And it's great. Thank you for hopping in the chat. You know, we don't always have to like the same thing. The swords are also facing downward in the Two of Swords. This is a really beautiful card, this Two of Cups. And one of the things I'm just noticing right now is that they are moving in the same direction. Often in the Two of Cups, there are humans who are looking towards each other. They are toasting, something like that, or they are embracing. And there's something really poignant in the fact that they are moving together simultaneously in the same direction. I think that's really beautiful. And that's probably how I would read that intuitively. It's powerful, it's potent. And then their love, the energy of spirit, is washing down through them. Like it's kind of, it's poignant. I think this squirrel balanced atop a mini Inukshuk, a mini set of stacking rocks I love it. I really do. I think it's great. And I also, there was a discussion in this card that I found really interesting, and that had to do with, not with weeding, but with, you know, sometimes when we cut back plants to make room for them to grow fully, like right now my tomatoes are really full and I need to cut off some of the branches. However, you need to be careful that you don't cut off so much that it damages or kills the plant. And this is something that she was talking about in terms of balance. Like, sometimes we need to make space for things to grow. This was a very interesting write up, quite like the bat here, and we see the energy of the sonar vision. We see the moths, and I really like this. I don't know how closely this connects with the high priestess. I can pull it out for you. If you think of the high priestess as night, which I know she did talk about that in this card. And so these two cards are often discussed, when they show up together in a reading. And so there's a consistency here with night and night. So that works for me. I sat with the big picture for the Two of Wands for quite a while. And this is intriguing. The perspective is in the distance. So the perspective is of the bear looking towards the Two of Wands. So normally in an RWS deck, we see it from the opposite perspective. We're looking we're looking out into the world. And here we're looking in at a river diverging from the perspective of the bear. And I think that's very clever. So the twos, I would give a big thumbs up to the twos for sure. The threes. Threes are about growth, triangulation. There's a progression from the two to the three. Something is greater. We are greater together, and we're able to create together. And this is where I think some of the write-ups begin to fall into one-dimensional write-ups. And I guess the argument against that is that Jessica has she has done a reversed meaning for all of the cards in the guidebook as well too. So there is, if you're looking for an alternate interpretation, you could look to the reversal if you were looking to the shadow, because I believe all cards, regardless of how they are painted, have a light and a shadow and something in between as well too. And one of the things that struck me in the write-up for the Three of Cups was the statement, there is no heaviness here, only positivity. Friends have come together to share their warmth and happiness, and this companionship is playful and youthful in nature. That's great. And then we say, and perhaps this is me. So her reversed meaning is isolation, conflict, loneliness, sorrow, and canceled plans, which is about a canceled party. So when I think of the shadow of the Three of Cups, I want to go into the perhaps there is a sense of excessiveness, or there's a lot of different ways we can go with the shadow. And so I would say either that the book is, if you were a beginning tarot reader moving away from an RWS deck, if that's the deck that you were working with, I'm very to say simple is not good. So the descriptions are limited. However, there is enough information about the species of animals and plants in the deck to give you more. So you could definitely work with this as a beginning tarot reader for sure. Yeah. The swords again are facing down in the three. And this is a card where, and I think creatively she's chosen a red cardinal. Perhaps, you could see the reminiscent of the shape of the heart. So that's kind of creative the way that she has done that. And again, in the Three of Wands, we're seeing an opposite perspective, like we did with the bear and the Two of Wands. So yeah, so let me know how this sits with you, and we will do a reading afterwards. And I haven't done any readings with this deck yet, so that'll be a test in itself. Okay, fours. So we do see a square in the Four of Swords. We see a teepee in the Four of Wands, which is a shape that I kind of like that in a Four of Wands. I think it is in the Slow Tarot. That is such a beautiful, beautiful card. So this deck is not unique to this design for the Four of Wands. Fours create a foundation, and we do see a dense root foundation here. And we see something light at the top, a moth or a butterfly. You can really pick up on the traditional Four of Swords from the artwork here. And now I'm noticing seasons. So there is snow on the tree in the Four of Swords. So this is something that I'm going to look at just really briefly here and see if there is, no, I was going to see, is there a sense of winter? We have wasps. I don't know if you have wasps in winter where you live. Raccoons and mushrooms. Okay, so that is something that is not built into the deck. The animals, the seasons, and so forth. However, you could speak to this as that kind of, as a card of hibernation, right? But this is individual within, it's not a suit theme. I guess that's what I'm saying. The Four of Pentacles. So the Four of Pentacles, we have a bluebird, a blue jay, who has collected a lot of items. And she was talking in the book about that blue jays are not necessarily hoarders, but she had watched the tenacity with which they collect seeds and things, and the lengths they will go to get what they want to get. And I thought that was entertaining and humorous and so forth. So for fours, I'm looking for, we see the stagnancy in the Four of Cups. We see the accumulation in the Four of Pentacles. We see the swords protecting the season of winter. There's a slowing down in the Four of Swords. And the foundation, I suppose, is represented by this fallen over tree and the roots that are coming out of that. So yes, I can read this deck intuitively. So we go into the fives, the bridge. It's one of the words I like for the fives. The challenging cards, the cards of chaos, the difficult place on the path where we need to decide if we're going forward or we're going back. This is connected to the deep, perhaps the deep teachings, the wisdom of the Hierophant energy. And sometimes I find going to the Hierophant can help us to understand what's going on in the energy of the fives. You see three broken chalices in the sand. We have a creature that is, right, so we have the crawfish. We see this in the moon card. We see this as part of Scorpio energy, scorpion, crayfish, lobster, this kind of thing. So this is a very cool card. I could read with this one easily. Here in the Five of Pentacles, so the pentacles are chipped and broken. There is a skeleton below the earth of what looks like a mouse. Mice are, I'm thinking Lenormand, right? Mice are symbolic of I'm assuming it's a mouse. Decay. Decay. In this sort of a nature-based deck, often growth and decay is a theme. And remember what I was saying about the fact that all of the moons in this deck are waxing. So that would indicate there's a bit of a conflict here, but so I'm going to go to Five of Pentacles, and this is the Hierophant card, because I know I was saying that. Just give me 2 seconds here, and we'll have a look at Five of Pentacles. Turned right to the page. The husk of a tiny creature lies under a barren bramble patch. The branches that were once laden with ripe fruit and green leaves have been stripped bare by the scorching sun. With its shade and food gone, the mouse has been left exposed to the elements to fend for itself. The Five of Pentacles represents isolation, poverty, and loss. The struggle to survive has never been more apparent, but resources are scarce and there seems to be no hope in sight. It may feel like there is no support, and the idea of continuing alone is disheartening. Moments like this make the world seem incredibly harsh. Now is the time to ask for help before things worsen. So what we don't see, perhaps there's a little bit here in this deck, is that glimmer of light like we see in the window of the cathedral. There is lightness in the green frame for sure. So here is our wise one that is connected to the mycelium, right? To the mushrooms, to the connections. This is a brilliant Hierophant card. And I'm just wondering if you can see how the Hierophant energy might help inform the teachings, or how you would work with any of these. Okay, so the wasps are on, again, we have destroyed or decaying fruit. Wasps and bees connected with the suit of swords works because of sound. So that's something interesting. And then in the Five of Wands, we see a bit of a tussle with two-horned caribou or elk or something like that. Okay. When we get to the Six, this is the place really of harmony and peace. We've been through the worst of it in the Five. And this also is a number of balance. So that is something that I want to see in the Sixes. I want to see beauty and peace. And I think that is captured very well here. We see reciprocity in the Six of Pentacles. The Six of Swords, that's a very profound card. I'm assuming this is an ascension. It's gorgeous. And the Six of Wands, we see the fullness of the garden. And I think beauty in association with one of the things that she doesn't discuss in this deck. So she says that the wands are associated with, and I'm going to quote what she says, new phase or project, you're fueled by a sudden spark of inspiration or passion. The wands channel energy, directing it to a focal point. This is from the Ace of Wands. She used the word passion quite a few times. And in the Six of Wands, I really like the Seven of Wands too. Accomplishment and confidence. So the accomplishment perhaps of the gardener, the accomplishment of the work and the planning and the care and the weeding and the fertilizing and the feeding, right, that is necessary to create a beautiful garden and to keep the garden looking fresh and alive. So yeah, there we go. 6. Let's go into the magic of 7. And we also have challenging cards in the 7. One of the cards that, and I guess this is quite typical of the 7 of Swords, the raccoon is used here. And there is a, this card traditionally, right? It's a card of deception. Depending on what side of the coin you are on. However, there are other layers to this as well too. But with this particular illustration, it's kind of hard to get out of that. There's tremendous purpose, the way that the 7 of Wands are drawn. A rising above, I can see that. And the 7 of Cups, let's go over there. So let's go to our dream space. The frog seems unable to decide which insect to eat, which insect to catch before he jumps into the pond. Is it possible he could strategically attain them all? I struggle with this card when it is, or is he dreaming? Is he dreaming of the possible plentifulness of food in this particular swamp or pond? The 7 of Cups symbolizes indecision and wishful thinking. In this fantastical scene, it's hard to know what is real. Daydreaming about possible outcomes won't help in obtaining those desires, and subsequently having too many options to choose from can be overwhelming. This is a time to carefully think about exactly what you are looking for. So when I was observing it, I just think there's no focus. And so that's one of the, what I want to look for in a reading is cards of focus and lack of focus. 7 of Pentacles, we see a web in progress. Wouldn't that be interesting to have a suit where we witnessed the development of a web through the whole suit? That would be really cool. Do you see the spider web again? No. Okay. So that's a random thought. Take notes, deck creators out there. Okay, here we go. So these are the 8s. 8 is it's a big number of transformation. I'm really liking this swirl of energy here in the 8 of Wands. And I forget what these are called. I know I've looked up this, and I'm sure some of you in the chat have told me what these are called. These are, these little things that come off the maples, these whirly things. So there's a sense of movement of energy. And this is kind of a horrifying card. So this perhaps is in the imagination of the little bunny who's trapped in the swords. And there's snakes all around the outside. And there's actually a couple of snakes that are touching the bunny. So this is quite a scary card. Actually, let's look at the scariness between the 8 and the 9 of Swords. Oh, we have one of those horrible centipedes. Have you ever been bitten by one of these millipedes? Poppies make sense there. Yeah. So this is quite a terrifying card, and I could see this easily. Like I can talk about this, the mental chatter, right? The mental chatter that tends to grow when we worry, which is often more associated with the 9, but there's definitely fear that is building here. In the Eight of Cups, we are seeing a transformation, right? We're seeing a chameleon shedding its skin, or a snake shedding its skin. So that works. And then we see the bees. So bees in Eight of Pentacles, that's been done in lots of decks. The industriousness, the focus, etc. Okay, so 9, we're coming to completion. We also have a sense of traditionally, these cards have one person in them. There's a sense of focus. There is a pause. There's a lack of action. Okay, so in the 9 of Cups, we see 3 turtles. So we see, let's look at the 3, the 6, and the 9 of Cups. There may be a subtle layer of, 3, 6, and 9 is a very magical number, and very magical numbers. And it would be great if there was even more mystery underlying in this deck. So there is the 9 of Cups, there is the 3 of Cups, and there is the 6 of Cups. So what was I looking for? I was looking to see if there was something, some sort of story in the 3, 6, and 9. I like to pay attention to these numbers. The turtles in the 9 of Cups are resting. So we see turtles again. It's nice to have a sigil, to have a recurring animal that comes through in a deck, in a suit, I mean. It's kind of a beautiful 9 of Cups. 9 of Pentacles, we see what? Cheshire Cat. Sitting in the garden. And 9 of Wands, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little mouse. There's a little mouse that is climbing to the top, towards the light. So it's kind of nice, hey? Nice sense of courageousness. And then the 10, so here we get to the wheel, we get to the shifting of the energy, and we see a wisteria, we see a very romantic picture in the 10 of Cups. In the 10 of Pentacles, we see an established rose garden, we see the bear, so the bear is an animal of weight and substance and so forth. We see 9 swords in the back of a fox. And again, this is a card that usually has light, and I don't see the light in the distance, but we do see that symbolized by the new growth of the plants. So the plants continue to grow, there is regeneration, right? And then in the 10 of Wands, okay, I want to qualify that in just a second. I want to say something about that, because this whole deck is meant to be a scene. It's called the Afterlight Edition. So the lighting, this would be a time of between just before dark, right? Dusk. 10 of Wands. Whoa. So much respect for the weight that the ant can carry, and what ants carry. We do see ants in other cards. There's one card where there are 3 ants with stones in their mouth. And so let's see if the ants are in the 3 of Wands. I don't think they are. I think the ants are in a different suit. They're in the suit of Pentacles, the ants. The ants are carrying stones here. Okay. What I was going to say was this ant is performing an enormous task, and the end is in sight. They still look strong. There's no broken legs. So this is a very hopeful card. And I appreciate a 10 of wands that I can, I can talk in a few different directions. So that's great. And then we get to the court cards. So the pages, and the court cards are presented page, knight, queen, and king. Pages generally are a youthful energy. And so here we're going back to lunar associations. So this is the waxing crescent moon. Things are beginning to grow. Wow, that page of pentacles is beautiful. Look at the light of the moon on the dandelions. The Page of Wands is awfully still, awfully still, and actually looks like it's um, full of youngins. Page of Wands energy to me needs a little bit more energy. Let's go and see what the intention here for the Page of Wands is. Some of these cards look more magnificent in the book. The book is a full, so this is the book, right? So you get this huge picture, so you can see all the details of the art. I really like that. Okay, so Page of Wands is a light-footed sparrow. Light-footed sparrows move quickly and freely among the branches of a great mulberry tree. She is blissfully grabbing as many berries as possible, enjoying their sweet taste. The lower branches have been picked clean. So the action, the swiftness of the page is represented by a bird that moves swiftly. Okay. All right, so here we go to our knights. What is going on in the Knight of Pentacles? Knight of Pentacles. Tucked away in a low valley, a patch of wild garlic has sprouted and multiplied. The earth here is fertile, full of life and nutrients, and the potential for things to grow. A golden coin is buried deep within the earth, rounded the same way the roots of the ramp are. A quarter moon illuminates the sky overhead. Okay. So yes, so the moon is waning. The pages where waxing. The moon is waxing. The pages where the waxing crescent, and we see the nights here as the waxing quarter moon, also known, some people call it half moon. I'm staring at the Knight of Pentacles because I'm thinking about what that means and what that means in terms of nights and journeys and movement and connecting that to other cards in the deck. Okay. Queens. Also, what I haven't looked at is to see if there is a hint to elemental affinities, court card affinities as well too. So here's your queens. The moon it's a gibbous moon. What do you think? For me, queens, their environment is really important. The queens thrive in their environment, and through creating an environment, they help others to grow. They are completely comfortable in their element, and it looks as if all of the queens are very at home in their element. They're very connected. The Queen of Wands is it's an inspiring card. I love the colors. And the Queen of Swords is very focused, which indeed she is. And I think this is really interesting, the way that she's made the web. Jessica's drawn the web from the sword. Okay, and here's the Kings. Okay. Heron. Elk. Oh. Mighty tree. So like she did in the Night of this is what I'm talking about, inconsistency in a deck. So it would be cool if all of the kings were big trees of different species, and that all of the animals were dominant animals. And so I like the artwork. I like what's going on in the deck. It's that lack of consistency that makes it hard. The kings are the energy of the full moon, so the full potential of the suit, and of course that works. That works fine. The only thing about that is that full moon energy is a strong feminine energy, even though the moon is illuminated by the sun, and there's this balance of masculine and feminine energy. The full moon to me. But I understand her logic for putting the moons on the cards that she did. It's not an easy process to figure this out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is offer a reading. It's going to take me a minute or so to shuffle all the cards, and I want to share with you a couple of spreads that are in the book. I think I'm going to focus on the energy of the new moon, and I want to show you what's in this beautiful book. This is a beautiful book. It is thread bound, so it lays open on the table. There's also, there were extra spreads as well too that came on a loose piece of paper. So this is one, following the tracks. Clearing the river. Consulting the seasons. There was also a little card that could be used for throwing charms, for charm throwing. Yeah, so that was a fun little feature. This is going to be a brief. The deck shuffles well. It has gold edges. The cards were not sticking together when I received them. It is linen cardstock with a slightly glossy quality to it. Focusing on the energy of the new moon in Leo, that's tomorrow. So that's tomorrow. So happy new moon tomorrow. The moon has already moved into Leo. The moon moves into Leo tonight. So 11:36 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And the new moon in Leo is tomorrow morning, 10:55 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So the moon is continuing to wane. How are you feeling at this time? This time of transition from dark moon to waxing moon. How are you feeling? How are you feeling leaving Cancer season and moving into the season of fire? And for those of you that are in the Southern Hemisphere watching the replay, or if you're watching live now and you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you are in the cold of winter, how does this transition from Cancer to Leo affect you? I'm going to pull 3 cards for the new moon. This is a reading for the collective. Also mindful of the transits that we are experiencing at this time. What is it we are ready to grow and develop and expand? And I'm reminded that this is not something that is being developed for the first time. All right, this is a really interesting card to come up for the new moon energy, and I'm going to tell you why. This is the 10 of Wands. This is that little ant that is carrying so much. And I want to say that you have been carrying so much and feeling this weight. One of the summer suit decks, one of the summer suits is in the Victorian Fairy Tarot, where all those little fairies are playing in the river. There is a need at this time for a break. I think the heat of the summer, it's important to take these sticks back to the nest, back to the home, honoring the natural cycles, and the need to pause during the heat of the summer is very important, so that replenishing and nourishing. And you're gonna laugh. I shared this on Tuesday. The card that I pulled for the inspiration for the Facebook group for tonight is the goddess Pasithea. We're working with the Red Seeds Oracle and Red Seeds Tarot. And Pasithea is the goddess of resting. She is the goddess of restoration. And I just found this incredibly powerful. No matter how many years I work with the tarot, the more I learn about astrology, the more that all of this feels so very important. Okay, I'm going to place the cards on either side of the 10. Either side of the 10. So one is the star. So here is a recurring symbol. We see the Northern Star in the star card as well as in the Ace of Wands. So, and we also see the red cardinal in the 3 of Swords. We see the owl in the High Priestess. This is the King of Swords. So what are you feeling here? There is a sense of fulfillment and fullness in the King of Swords with the full moon energy, and also his majestic wisdom, if you will, sitting atop. This is a beautiful card. We also have a crystal formation down here at the bottom, and we have this lush growth. So we truly are seeing a sense of wisdom and fulfillment here. Do you remember I was talking about, do we see the seasons in the card? And here we see the crocus blooming through the melting snow. So this also would indicate, and this also fits into Aquarius season for sure, if you are reading in astrological associations. So that definitely works. I should also pull out all of the major astrological associations and see if that fits with seasons. All right, so what is the message? What is the message here for the new moon? I want to say that this feels you have reached the top of you have ascended to the summit. You have reached the summit. You have been through so very, very much. Just think what comes before the star card. And all of these cards speak to completion, optimism, your brilliance. And what I want to say here is that let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate our brilliance. Let's celebrate our accomplishments. And give ourselves permission to be in that space of honoring and celebrating. However, you do that, you may do that with a family vacation. You might do that with a few days off by yourself to, disappear away from the family. You might do that by, I don't know, and you might be busy on your vacation, right? You might take that time to retreat and to do something that you're not able to do when you're within the busyness of it all. So I want to invite you all to honor the space of the next 2 weeks while it is a time for development. And this is something that is such an interesting juxtaposition, but I cannot, this message has been coming through again and again. Waxing moons are a time of building energy. And in Leo season, this is a time of building courage and strength and all of these things. But perhaps this is finding courage and strength to know that it already is within, and that it's okay. It's okay to honor that and celebrate that and step back and to rest a little bit and to have some fun. And like those little fairies I was talking about in the Victorian fairy tale, go play in the river, go float down the stream. Okay. So thank you for joining me on this first impressions of the Forager's Daughter Afterlight Edition. It's been really interesting, and I'm really glad that I took the 2 videos to do this, and I will let you know how I am progressing with working with the deck over time. Namaste, everybody. Have a lovely evening. Thanks, Helen. I appreciate your feedback.